The stars look different from out here. Lieutenant Patricia Winters stared at the view screen of her scout ship, the Curiosity, as it drifted through uncharted space. Earth had been expanding its reach for decades now, but this was the furthest any human had traveled from home. Patricia felt both pride and loneliness as she recorded new star charts. "Routine scan complete, Lieutenant," said the ship's computer in its calm voice. "No anomalies detected." Patricia nodded and took a sip from her coffee mug. The liquid floated strangely in the low-gravity setting she preferred during long missions. 6 months alone in space was a long time, but she had volunteered for this duty. Earth needed to know what was out here before they sent the bigger ships. "Run diagnostic on long-range sensors," Patricia said, stretching her arms above her head. "Let's make sure we're not missing anything." The computer beeped acknowledgement. Patricia turned to look at the small photos taped to her console. Her parents standing in front of their farm in Ohio, her brother Sam at his college graduation, her dog Cooper playing in autumn leaves. Little reminders of why humanity was pushing into the stars, for the future of everyone back home. The alarm blared suddenly, causing Patricia to spill her coffee. Warning: multiple objects approaching at high velocity, configuration unknown. Patricia's training kicked in instantly. "Full sensor sweep, go to yellow alert. Power up defensive systems but keep weapons cold." The view screen shifted to show several objects moving toward the Curiosity. They were ships, unlike any Patricia had seen before. They had strange, curved shapes that reminded her of sea creatures. Their hulls shimmered with colors that shouldn't exist in space. "Computer, are they natural phenomena?" "Negative. Objects show evidence of artificial construction and propulsion. Classification: vessels of unknown origin." Patricia's heart raced. First contact, the moment humanity had speculated about for centuries. She was about to become the first human to meet aliens. "Open all communication frequencies. Standard greeting package." The computer complied, sending out the carefully crafted message that Earth's best linguists, psychologists, and diplomats had created for this exact situation. It contained mathematical sequences, simple images, and basic information about humans designed to be understood by any intelligent species. Patricia waited tensely. Protocol said to attempt communication 3 times before taking any other action. Minutes passed as the alien ships drew closer. They were definitely approaching with purpose. "Lieutenant, receiving transmission. Unknown format. Try to decode it. Use all available protocols." The computer worked for several seconds. Partial translation achieved. Audio only. A strange voice filled the cabin. It spoke in harsh clicking sounds with occasional words that almost sounded like English. Patricia listened carefully, trying to make sense of it. "Unknown vessel. Identify, surrender. Board for inspection. Illegal territory." Patricia frowned. That didn't sound friendly. "Computer, continue translation efforts. Send secondary greeting package with emphasis on peaceful intentions." The alien ships were now close enough for Patricia to see details. The largest was about 3 times the size of her scout ship. They began to move into formation around the Curiosity, clearly trying to box her in. The translation came through clearer now. "Unidentified vessel. You have entered galactic hegemony space without authorization. Power down and prepare for boarding. Resistance will result in destruction." Patricia's mouth went dry. This wasn't the friendly first contact humanity had hoped for. "Computer, send message. This is Lieutenant Patricia Winters of Earth Scout Ship Curiosity. We are on a peaceful mission of exploration. We were unaware this space was claimed. We wish to establish friendly communication." The response came quickly. "Earth vessel. Your presence is unauthorized. Your species is unregistered. Surrender." For processing, Patricia's hands hovered over the controls. Earth's protocols were clear. Avoid conflict if possible, but never surrender the ship. The technology aboard could be dangerous in the wrong hands, and the data about Earth's location had to be protected. "Computer, what are our options?" "Analysis. Indicates hostile intent. Ships are in capture formation. Their weapon systems appear to be powering up. Recommend evasive action. One of the alien ships fired what looked like a beam of purple energy. It missed the Curiosity by a small margin. Warning shot detected, the computer announced. Patricia made her decision. Activate full defensive systems. Plot escape course, back to Earth space. The scout ship's engines hummed as they powered up to full capacity. The shield technology, Earth's most advanced, created an invisible barrier around the small vessel. The alien commander's voice came through again, sounding surprised. Unknown technology detected. All ships, capture this vessel immediately. 3. Alien ships fired together. Their energy weapons hit the Curiosity's shields, which flared bright blue but held. Patricia had trained for combat scenarios but never expected to use those skills during a simple mapping mission. Evasive pattern Delta, she ordered, hands flying over the controls. The Curiosity moved with surprising speed and agility for a scout vessel. It ducked and weaved between the larger alien ships, which seemed confused by its capabilities. Their targeting systems are attempting to lock on, the computer reported. Defensive countermeasures active. Patricia saw an opening between two of the smaller ships. Full power to engines. Plot course through that gap. The Curiosity shot forward, its advanced propulsion system glowing bright as it accelerated. One alien ship moved to block the path, firing continuously. Shields at 60%, the computer warned. Patricia gritted her teeth. Deploy countermeasures. Target their propulsion systems. Minimal force. The Curiosity fired back for the first time. Precise energy pulses hit two of the alien vessels, causing their engines to sputter and fail. The ships began to drift, still functional but unable to pursue. Path clear, the computer announced. Get us out of here, maximum speed. The Curiosity's engines burned bright as the ship accelerated beyond what the aliens could match. Soon the hostile vessels were just dots on the sensor readings. Once they were safely away, Patricia took a deep breath and ran her fingers through her short brown hair. Her hands were shaking slightly. Computer, prepare emergency transmission to Earth Command Priority Alpha. As the computer compiled the data from the encounter, Patricia stared at the stars again. They didn't look beautiful anymore. They looked dangerous. Message ready, the computer said. Patricia nodded and spoke clearly. Earth Command. This is Lieutenant Patricia Winters aboard the Curiosity. First contact established with hostile alien coalition calling themselves the Galactic Hegemony. They attempted to capture this vessel. I was forced to take defensive action and escape. They have technology comparable to ours but seem surprised by our capabilities. They referred to Earth as an unregistered species in unauthorized territory. Sending all scan data of their ships and weapons, returning to Earth space at maximum speed. They know we exist now. They will be coming. Winters out. As the message began its journey back to Earth, Patricia set course for home. The Curiosity was just a scout ship, never meant for combat, but she had a feeling that soon Earth would be sending much more than scouts. The grand chamber of the Galactic Hegemony High Council fell silent as Commander Zax Valor entered. His gray skin looked paler than usual, and his 4 eyes blinked nervously as he approached the central platform. 7 different alien species sat in raised seats around the circular room, their faces showing various signs of concern. Speak, Commander, said Supreme Counselor Vexis Terra, her tentacles waving slowly. Tell us about this encounter. Zax Valor touched the control panel. In front of him, a large hologram appeared in the center of the chamber, showing Patricia's scout ship. 3 days ago, our border patrol detected this vessel in Sector 7. It was operating in unmarked space near the Duranian Nebula. He paused, mandibles clicking. We followed standard procedure for unauthorized craft and demanded surrender. And? Asked Counselor Grelzar, a hulking reptilian creature. The vessel refused compliance. We attempted capture, but Zax Valor's voice trailed off. Show the Council what happened, ordered Vexis Terra. The hologram shifted to show the encounter. The Council members watched as the small Earthship evaded the hegemony vessels with surprising speed and agility. There were murmurs of disbelief when they saw the scout ship's shields absorb their weapons, and gasps when it disabled 2 military vessels before escaping. Science Minister Eluvrine leaned forward, her crystalline body catching the light. This cannot be a primitive craft. Look at those defense systems. That shield technology absorbed our standard weapons without difficulty. Yet its design suggests a civilization barely beyond planetary travel, added another counselor. How is this possible? Commander Zax Valor looked uncomfortable. We have analyzed all data from the encounter. The vessel identified itself as belonging to a species called humans from a planet called Earth. Our records show no previous contact with this species. Vex's Terra's eyes narrowed. Did they attempt communication before you engaged? Yes. Supreme Counselor. They transmitted some kind of greeting package. Our translators were working on it when they began evasive maneuvers. So you fired first, stated Grelzar flatly. We fired a warning shot, corrected Zax Valor, as per protocol for unregistered species in protected space. The chamber erupted in overlapping voices. Vex Terra raised a tentacle for silence. The question now is what this means for the hegemony. Minister Eluvrine, your assessment? The crystalline alien stood. The technological level displayed by this single craft is concerning. Based on our analysis, they have developed independently, with no guidance from established species. This goes against everything the hegemony stands for. Unsupervised technological development is dangerous. Could there be more of them? Asked a counselor from the shadows. The pilot sent a message. Before escaping, said Zax Valori. Our systems only caught part of it, but she mentioned returning to Earth space. This suggests a limited territory, mused Grelzar. Perhaps a single system or small cluster. What do we know of their location? Asked Vexitara. The vessel was traveling from the direction of the Sol system. It's an unremarkable star with several planets. Our surveys classified it as having potential for life, but it wasn't considered a priority for colonization. Vexitara turned to her fellow council members. We face an unknown species with advanced technology developing outside our guidance. The laws of the hegemony are clear on this matter. Containment before they spread further, agreed Grelzar. We should assemble a battle group immediately. One moment, interrupted Eluvrine. If their scout ships have such capabilities, we should consider what their actual military vessels might be capable of. The chamber grew quiet as everyone considered this thought. The logical conclusion, Vexitara finally said, is that we caught them by surprise during an exploration mission. Their actual territory is likely small, and this craft probably represents the peak of their technology. If they had a significant fleet, we would have encountered them before now. Heads nodded around the chamber. I propose an expeditionary force, said Grelzar. 30 ships should be more than sufficient to handle whatever primitive fleet they might have. We will offer them a chance to submit to hegemony oversight, as all developing species must. And if they refuse? Asked a small bird-like counselor. Then we demonstrate our power, Grelzar replied simply. It is our duty to maintain order in this sector of the galaxy. Unchecked development leads to chaos. Vexitara considered for a moment before speaking. Assemble the fleet. We will send a message to these humans. They will join the hegemony as a supervised species, or they will face the consequences. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Patricia's message had caused immediate action. In the underground command center of Earth Defense Force headquarters, a group of men and women sat around a large table, faces serious under the bright lights. General Alan Scott stood at the head of the table, his weathered face grim as he replayed Patricia's message one more time. The room was silent when it finished. Lieutenant Winters is 3 days out, he said. Her ship wasn't damaged, but she's pushing the engines hard to get back. In the meantime, we need to prepare. Dr. Samantha Russell, head of the Diplomatic Corps, spoke first. We should attempt peaceful communication before any military response. If they let Patricia send her message, they may be open to dialogue. They tried to capture her ship after she attempted peaceful contact, countered General Scott. That doesn't suggest they're interested in talking. Frank Martinez, the lead intelligence analyst, studied the data on his tablet. There's something interesting in their language. The terms unregistered species and unauthorized territory suggest a bureaucratic structure. They're not just hostile, they have rules they follow. So they think we're breaking their rules by existing? Asked someone. Essentially, yes. Martinez nodded. They may view us as illegal immigrants in their galaxy. General Scott turned to the screens showing Earth's orbital defenses. 200 ships of varying sizes formed a protective network around the planet. Unlike Patricia's scout vessel, these were purpose-built warships, the product of decades of humanity preparing for possible threats from space. How long would it take to recall our deep space fleets? He asked. Admiral Hayes could have the Jupiter fleet back in Earth orbit within 36 hours, replied his aide. The Mars Defense Group is already in position. Dr. Russell frowned. If we recall all our ships, it will look like we're preparing for war. We are, said General Scott simply. Or at least we're preparing to defend ourselves. These aliens have already shown they're willing to attack without provocation. We should at least try to understand them better, insisted Dr. Russell. Patricia's data shows their technology is comparable to ours. A conflict could be devastating for both sides. General Scott looked around the table. I want all defense systems at full readiness, every ship, every satellite weapons platform, everything. If they come in peace, fine. If not, he didn't need to finish the sentence. As the meeting continued, no one in the room knew that the Hegemony battle group was already being assembled. 30 of their most powerful warships were preparing to jump to the Sol system, expecting to find a primitive civilization with just a handful of vessels like the Curiosity. They were about to make a very big mistake. The Hegemony battle group emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system. 30 warships, each gleaming with strange metals and pulsing with exotic energy, formed a wedge formation as they began their approach toward the third planet. On the bridge of the flagship, Fleet Commander Drazikor studied the sensor readings with growing confusion. According to their intelligence, this Earth should have only a handful of ships like the scout vessel they had encountered. Yet the sensors were detecting hundreds of artificial objects in orbit around the blue planet. Interference from the planet's magnetic field? He asked his science officer. No, Commander. The readings are accurate. The science officer adjusted her instruments. Most appear to be primitive satellites and space stations, but there are larger vessels as well. Many larger vessels. Drazikor frowned, his scaled skin wrinkling around his eyes. How many? At least 200 ships of military configuration, sir. They appear to be organized in defensive formation. A murmur ran through the bridge crew. This was not what they had expected. Perhaps they are decoys, suggested his second-in-command. Fake signals to make their fleet seem larger. Drazikor considered this. Continue approach. Prepare to broadcast our demands. As the Hegemony fleet moved deeper into the solar system, passing the gas giant Jupiter, Earth's orbital sensors detected them immediately. Alarms sounded throughout Earth's defense network. Admiral Gloria Hayes stood in the command center of the EDF flagship, the Defender. At 63 years old, she had gray hair cut in a practical style and eyes that had seen countless simulations of this very moment. Now it was real. All ships report ready, Admiral, said her communications officer. Hayes nodded. Formation, Delta. Keep the Earth between us and them until they cross the lunar orbit. On screens around her, 200 Earth warships moved with practiced precision. Unlike Patricia's scout ship, which had been designed primarily for exploration with defensive capabilities, these vessels were built for combat. Each one carried weapon systems and shield technology that had been developed over decades. They're broadcasting something, reported the communications officer. It's on all frequencies. Let's hear it, ordered Hayes. A harsh, alien voice filled the bridge. The translation software worked quickly to convert the strange language. Attention, primitive species of the planet designated Earth. This is Fleet Commander Drazikor of the Galactic Hegemony. Your unauthorized technological development has been deemed a violation of hegemony law. You will surrender your military vessels and accept hegemony oversight of your civilization. Failure to comply will result in forceful subjugation. You have one planetary rotation to respond. The bridge was silent when the message ended. Then Lieutenant Paul Dixon, a young officer at the tactical station, spoke up. "They think we're primitive?" Admiral Hayes allowed herself a small smile. "They encountered one of our scout ships and assumed that's the best we have." She turned to her communications officer. "Open a channel. Let's correct their misunderstanding." The Hegemony fleet had just passed the orbit of Mars when they received a response from Earth. Commander Drazagor was surprised by how quickly it came. "Put it on screen," he ordered. A human female appeared on the view screen. She wore a dark uniform with insignia of rank that the Hegemony computers couldn't identify. "This is Admiral Gloria Hayes of the Earth Defense Force. You have entered sovereign human space unauthorized and with hostile intent. Your demands are rejected. Withdraw, immediately, or face consequences." Drazagor laughed, a sound like stones grinding together. The primitive speaks boldly. "Show me these consequences, human." As if in response, the Earth fleet appeared from behind the planet. 200 warships, arranged in perfect formation, moved to intercept the Hegemony forces. Their size and configuration made it clear these were not scout vessels or decoys. The science officer's voice quavered slightly. "Commander, energy readings from those ships are significant. Their weapon systems appear to be powering up." For the first time, Drazagor felt a flicker of uncertainty. This was not the primitive civilization they had expected to find. Still, the Hegemony had ruled this sector of the galaxy for thousands of years. These humans needed to learn their place. "They're bluffing," he decided. "Target their largest vessels and fire. Show them the power of the Hegemony." 5 Hegemony warships broke formation and accelerated toward Earth's fleet. They fired energy weapons similar to those used against Patricia's scout ship. Admiral Hayes watched calmly as the alien weapons fire approached. "Defensive screens at full power. Hold fire until my command." The alien energy beams struck the shields of Earth's frontline destroyers. Blue light flared across the defensive barriers as they absorbed the attack without difficulty. Hayes waited 3 more seconds, then gave the order. "All forward batteries fire." Earth's ships responded in unison. Streams of concentrated energy burst from multiple weapon ports on each vessel, crossing the space between the fleets in seconds. The Hegemony ships, not expecting such a coordinated response, had little time to adjust their own defenses. 2 alien vessels exploded immediately as Earth's weapons overwhelmed their shields. A third spun out of control, its propulsion systems damaged. The remaining 2 retreated hastily back to the main fleet. On the Hegemony flagship, chaos erupted as reports of the damage came in. "Impossible," shouted Drazagor. "How could primitive vessels cause such damage?" "Sir," his second-in-command spoke urgently, "their weapons technology is far more advanced than we anticipated, and their targeting systems." He paused, looking at the data again. They fired simultaneously from multiple ships, perfectly coordinated. Before Drazagor could respond, Admiral Hayes' face appeared on the view screen again. "That was a demonstration," she said evenly. "We have no desire for conflict, but we will defend our system. You have 30 minutes to begin withdrawal, or we will remove you by force." The screen went dark. Drazagor stared at the empty space where the human's face had been. His mind raced through options. The Hegemony fleet had superior numbers, but the humans had demonstrated unexpected technological capability and tactical coordination. "Orders, sir?" asked his second-in-command. Drazagor made his decision. "All ships, prepare for full engagement. We cannot allow these humans to challenge Hegemony authority. Target their command vessels first, then their defensive line." As the Hegemony fleet moved into attack formation, Admiral Hayes gave her own orders. "All ships, Combat Protocol Omega. Let's show them what humans can really do." The 2 fleets accelerated toward each other, energy weapons charging, shields at maximum. The battle for Earth's future was about to begin in earnest, and the Hegemony was about to learn that they had made a critical mistake. Their panic was just beginning. The battle raged across the space between Mars and Earth. Beams of energy crisscrossed the void, and explosions bloomed like silent, deadly flowers. The Hegemony fleet attacked in waves, trying to overwhelm Earth's defenses with their greater numbers. But the human ships moved with unexpected precision, their formations shifting and adapting to each alien maneuver. On the bridge of the Defender, Admiral Hayes studied the tactical display. 6 hegemony vessels had already been destroyed, with 8 more heavily damaged. Earth had lost only 2 ships, with several others reporting minor damage. "They're trying to circle around behind us," noted Lieutenant Dixon, pointing to a group of alien ships attempting to flank the Earth fleet. Hayes nodded. "Deploy Striker Group 3 to intercept. Tell Captain Linda Rogers she has permission to use the pulse weapons." As orders were relayed, 12 smaller, faster Earth ships broke formation and raced to meet the flanking aliens. These vessels, designed for speed and hitting power, carried weapons that had never been tested in actual combat until now. Captain Rogers, a former fighter pilot with keen eyes and quick reflexes, led her ships directly toward the enemy. "Pulse weapons charged and ready," she reported. "Engaging in 5 seconds." The human strike group released a barrage of pulsing blue energy spheres. Unlike the beam weapons used earlier, these pulses passed right through the alien shields, as if they weren't there. When they made contact with the hegemony ships, they didn't cause explosions. Instead, they spread across the hulls like liquid, shorting out systems and disrupting power flow. 3 enemy ships drifted powerless, their engines and weapons dead. The others retreated in confusion, having never encountered such technology. Meanwhile, on the hegemony flagship, Commander Drazikor struggled to understand what was happening. His tactical officer lay dead at his station, victim of an exploding console. Smoke filled parts of the bridge, and damage reports flooded in faster than they could be processed. "Pull back to regroup," he ordered, his voice rough with stress. "We need to adjust our approach." His second-in-command, Vrilnex, looked at him with disbelief. "Commander, we've lost nearly half our combat capability. These humans, they're not what we expected." "They got lucky," snarled Drazkor. "Our intelligence was flawed, but we still outnumber them. The hegemony does not retreat from primitives." As the remaining hegemony ships pulled back to regroup, Admiral Hayes used the brief pause to make adjustments of her own. "All ships, realign defensive screens to counter their heavy cruisers," she ordered. "Medical teams to damaged vessels. And someone get me Patricia Winters, I want to talk to her." Minutes later, Lieutenant Winters appeared on a small screen on Hayes's command console. Patricia had returned to Earth just hours before the hegemony arrived, and had been debriefed quickly before the battle began. "Lieutenant, you encountered these aliens first," said Hayes. "Is there anything from that encounter that might help us now?" Patricia thought for a moment. "They seem genuinely surprised by our technology, Admiral, and based on their communications, they have a strict hierarchy. They kept referring to rules and protocols." Hayes nodded. "So they're bureaucratic, as well as aggressive. Anything else?" "They called us an unregistered species. I think in their view we're not supposed to exist, at least not with our level of technology. It seemed to offend them somehow." "Thank you, Lieutenant. Return to your station." Hayes turned to her communications. "Officer, open a channel to their command ship. Let's see if we can use this information." Across space, Drazkor was surprised to receive a communication request from the humans. Against his second's advice, he accepted the transmission. "Commander, Drazkor," Admiral Hayes began, her voice calm and authoritative. "Your fleet has taken significant losses. We have no desire to destroy your remaining ships. I propose a temporary ceasefire to discuss terms." Drazkor laughed harshly. "The hegemony does not negotiate with unregistered species. Your very existence in this form violates our most sacred laws." "Your laws do not apply to us," replied Hayes evenly. "We developed independently, without knowledge of your hegemony. But we are willing to establish diplomatic relations between equals." "Equals?" Drazkor's voice rose in genuine shock. "Your species is barely out of its planetary cradle. You have no standing in the galactic community." Hayes's expression hardened. "Yet our primitive ships have destroyed nearly half your fleet. Perhaps your assessment of our standing needs revision." The alien commander's face twisted with rage. "This battle is not over. You will learn respect for the hegemony." He cut the transmission and immediately turned to his weapons officer. "Target their command ship. All remaining cruisers focus fire." On Earth, in the underground command center, General Scott and his team monitored the battle. Dr. Russell studied the intercepted hegemony communications with growing concern. "They're panicking," she said, looking up from her screen. "Their entire worldview is being challenged. In their eyes, we shouldn't exist as we are." Frank Martinez nodded. "Their communications show increasing confusion. Listen to this." He played a translated audio clip. "Unknown weapons, shields ineffective. How can primitives have such technology?" General Scott grunted. "They thought they were facing a few scout ships. Instead, they got our entire defense fleet. Of course they're panicking." "There's something else," added Martinez. "I've been analyzing the patterns in their ship movements and communications. They're using tactics designed for intimidation rather than actual combat efficiency. I think they don't have much real fighting experience. They've been the biggest fish in their pond for so long they've forgotten how to fight properly," mused Scott. In space, the battle resumed with renewed fury. 7 hegemony cruisers concentrated their fire on the Defender, Hayes's flagship. Energy beams struck the ships, shields from multiple directions, causing them to flare brightly. "Shields at 40% and dropping," reported the defensive systems officer, his voice steady despite the danger. Hayes remained calm. "Rotate shield harmonics, deploy countermeasures, and target those cruisers with the main batteries." The Defender shuddered as its massive weapon arrays fired in sequence. Beams of concentrated energy lanced out toward the attacking alien ships. 2 hegemony cruisers exploded immediately, their shields already weakened from earlier fighting. A third spun away, trailing debris. Across the battlefield, Earth ships pressed their advantage, using superior tactics and unexpected technology to overcome the aliens' numerical advantage. The hegemony forces, never having faced serious opposition before, struggled to adapt. On his flagship, Commander Drazkor watched with growing horror as his fleet was systematically taken apart. His second-in-command approached cautiously. "Commander, we must withdraw. We can return with a larger force." Drazkor wanted to refuse, to fight to the last ship for the honor of the hegemony. But he was a military commander first, and the battle was clearly lost. "Send the retreat signal," he said finally, his voice hollow. "All ships emergency jump to Rally Point Omega." As the surviving hegemony vessels began to disengage, Admiral Hayes gave her own orders. "Let them go. Hold positions, but cease fire." The Earth fleet maintained formation, weapons ready but silent as the alien ships activated their faster-than-light drives and disappeared into the darkness of space. The first battle between Earth and the galactic hegemony was over, but everyone knew this was just the beginning of a much larger conflict. 2 months passed since the battle in Earth's orbit. The hegemony ships had fled, but humanity knew they would return. Every day, Earth prepared for the next encounter. Factories worked around the clock to build more ships. Scientists studied the alien technology from the damaged vessels they had captured. Military leaders planned new strategies and defenses. But Earth's leaders had also made another decision. They would not wait passively for the hegemony to attack again. They would take the fight to them. The diplomatic vessel Olive Branch sat in orbit, receiving its final preparations. Unlike the warships that had defended Earth, this ship was designed to impress rather than intimidate. Its sleek hull gleamed silver in the sunlight, and its size dwarfed even the largest military vessels. Inside, it carried Earth's best diplomats, scientists, and a small but elite security force. Ambassador Joseph Bennett stood at the window of his quarters, looking down at the blue planet below. At 56, his hair had turned mostly gray, but his eyes remained sharp and determined. He had spent his career negotiating difficult agreements between nations on Earth. Now he faced his greatest challenge, negotiating with an alien civilization that considered humanity's very existence a violation of their rules. "Ambassador, we're ready to depart," said his assistant through the communication system. "Thank you, Jane," he replied. I'll be on the bridge shortly. Bennett took one last look at Earth before making his way through the corridors of the massive ship. Crew members nodded respectfully as he passed. Everyone understood the importance of their mission. On the bridge, Captain Susan Clark stood reviewing final departure procedures. Her military uniform contrasted with the civilian clothes of the diplomatic team. The Olive Branch was officially a diplomatic vessel, but it carried significant defensive capabilities and was escorted by 5 of Earth's most powerful warships. "Ambassador on the bridge," announced a lieutenant as Bennett entered. Captain Clark turned and nodded. "Welcome, Ambassador. We're preparing to engage the jump drive. Our destination is Centauri Prime, the capital world of the hegemony." "Thank you, Captain," said Bennett. "The future of Earth depends on what we accomplish there." Clark's expression was serious. "The military escort is ready. The Guardian, the Protector, the Vigilant, the Sentinel, and the Defender will accompany us, with Admiral Hayes commanding from the Defender." Bennett nodded. 6 ships against an entire galactic civilization seemed like poor odds. But after the battle 2 months ago, Earth's leaders had decided that a small, impressive force might achieve more than a full military fleet. They wanted to talk, not fight. But they also wanted to negotiate from a position of strength. "Take us out, Captain," said Bennett. The Olive Branch and its escorts moved away from Earth, their advanced engines glowing bright blue. When they reached a safe distance, they activated their jump drives, technology adapted from studying the captured hegemony vessels. In a flash of light, they disappeared from the Sol system. 3 days later, they emerged from jump space near Centauri Prime. The planet looked strange to human eyes. Its surface showed swirls of purple and green under white clouds. Multiple moons orbited it, and a massive ring system circled its equator. Space stations and thousands of ships surrounded the planet. As soon as Earth's ships appeared, alarms sounded throughout the hegemony's defense network. Hundreds of warships moved to intercept what they assumed was an invasion force. On the Olive Branch, sensors detected the approaching hegemony fleet. "They're powering up weapons," reported the tactical officer, her voice tense. Captain Clark looked to Bennett. "Ambassador?" "Open communications on all frequencies," he said calmly. "Let's make our intentions clear before they start shooting." On Centauri Prime, the High Council had convened an emergency session. The chamber was filled with frightened voices as reports came in about the human ships. They followed Drazkor's fleet back to our homeworld. How did they find us so quickly? Their ships are massive. Look at the size of that lead vessel. Supreme Counselor Vexis Tara raised her tentacles for silence. "What is our defense status?" A military officer stepped forward. "We have deployed all available ships to intercept. But these human vessels are significantly larger than those encountered by Commander Drazkor, and our sensors detect unusual energy signatures." "They're broadcasting a message," announced another officer. "Let us hear it," ordered Vexis Terra. A human voice filled the chamber, speaking in perfect hegemony standard language thanks to the translation technology Earth had developed by studying captured hegemony devices. "This is Ambassador Joseph Bennett of Earth. We come in peace, seeking dialogue. Our vessels will maintain position and take no aggressive action. We request a meeting with your leadership." The council members looked at each other in confusion. This was not what they had expected. "It must be a trick," said Counselor Grelzar. "They defeated our battle group. Why would they come to talk now?" Vexitera thought carefully. "What do our intelligence reports say about human behavior?" Science Minister Eluvrine consulted her datapad. "Based on the communications we've intercepted, they value negotiation and diplomacy, even with enemies. It is possible their intentions are genuine, or they could be stalling while their main fleet prepares to attack," countered Grelzar. Vextera made her decision. "We will meet with them, but in a neutral location, with full security. Prepare the Grand Hall, and continue monitoring space for any sign of additional human vessels." In orbit, the Olive Branch received the reply. Bennett smiled slightly as he heard the cautious acceptance of his request for a meeting. "They're scared," noted Admiral Hayes from the Defender. "Our arrival has thrown their entire society into panic." "Fear can be useful in negotiations," replied Bennett. But we don't want them so frightened they do something foolish. 24 hours later, the Earth delegation descended to the planet's surface in a shuttle. Bennett led a small team that included Dr. Russell and 2 security officers. The streets of the alien capital were nearly empty as they flew over. Most citizens had been ordered to stay in their homes until the human situation was resolved. The Grand Hall of the Hegemony was an impressive structure that reached high into the purple sky. Inside, representatives of all 7 species of the hegemony waited nervously. Armed guards lined the walls. Bennett walked confidently into the center of the hall and bowed slightly to the raised platform where the High Council sat. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with us," he began. "Earth wishes to establish peaceful relations with the galactic hegemony. The unfortunate conflict between our peoples was based on misunderstanding and lack of communication." Vex Tara leaned forward. "Your ships attacked and destroyed much of our battle group. You come to our homeworld with warships. Is this how humans seek peace?" Bennett smiled diplomatically. "Your battle group fired first, both at our scout ship and at our defense fleet. As for our current ships, yes, they are impressive, but we brought only 6. If our intentions were hostile, we would have brought our entire fleet." This statement caused murmurs throughout the hall. The counselors looked at each other with new concern. "How many ships do you have?" asked Grelzar directly. "Enough to defend ourselves," Bennett replied smoothly. "But we prefer talking to fighting. Earth has mapped many of your worlds during our exploration efforts, yet we chose to come here openly, to your capital, rather than strike at vulnerable colonies." This revelation, that humans knew the locations of hegemony worlds, sent another wave of shock through the assembly. "What do you want?" asked Vex's Terra finally. "Recognition of Earth's sovereignty. A treaty that establishes borders and protocols for future interaction, trade agreements if possible, cultural exchange eventually." Bennett spread his hands. "We may be new to the galactic community by your standards, but we are not the primitives you assumed we were." The negotiations lasted for days. Gradually, fear gave way to cautious curiosity on both sides. The treaty that emerged, the Sol Centauri Accord, recognized human independence and established the foundation for peaceful coexistence. As Bennett prepared to return to the Olive Branch after the signing ceremony, Vexitara approached him, privately. "Your ships, your technology, they surprised us," she admitted. "How did humans advance so quickly without guidance?" Bennett smiled. "Perhaps because we had to solve our problems ourselves. Necessity drives innovation." "Will there be peace between us truly?" she asked. "I believe so," said Bennett. "The universe is vast enough for all of us." As the Earth ships departed Centauri Prime, word spread throughout the hegemony about the strange humans who had arrived with just 6 ships but spoke as equals to the ancient galactic power. Many citizens secretly expressed relief that humans had chosen diplomacy after their show of force, and on countless worlds, people looked to the stars with new understanding. The galaxy was a more complex and interesting place than they had ever imagined.